your son, obviously a fan of Charlie Kirk. What was the conversation like between you and your son after Charlie Kirk was assassinated?
Well, he called me. I don't know how he got a phone, but he called me from school that day. What was going on? He wanted to know if he was dead. He wasn't a fan of him as much as he was familiar with him.
Okay, so Gavin Newsom is a shameless liar and panderer, and he's a good politician in that regard, but he's a terrible politician in the regard that everyone can see through it. And also he says statements that are blatantly incompatible on the record. And Megyn Kelly has two such statements for us today. So there's a clip of Gavin Newsom talking to Charlie Kirk on his podcast, on Gavin Newsom's podcast, saying, yeah, my son is this huge fan of yours. He adores you. You're like so in touch with the youth. And then you have Gavin Newsom, after Charlie Kirk is murdered, saying, my son wasn't so into the guy.
Gavin Newsom, shame on him, because he invited Charlie on his podcast, and Charlie went and sat in the lion's den with a far left guy, was courteous to him. I think he was his inaugural guest. Did him that courtesy, bringing all these eyeballs to his show. And what does Gavin Newsom do? Betrays him. So here's what Gavin said to Charlie when Charlie was sitting on his set about Gavin Newsom's own son, Sot 1.
Last night, trying to put my son to bed. He's like, no, Dad, what time? What time's Charlie going to be here? What time? And I'm like, dude, you're in school tomorrow. He's 13. He's like, no. This morning, wakes up at 6 something. He's like, I'm coming. I'm like, he literally would not leave the house.
Did you let him take off school?
No, he did. Of course not. He's not here for a good reason. But the point is
you canceled school for like 2 years. One day.
The point is the point, which is you are making a damn dent.
Thank you. I'm kidding.
So his son was such an ardent fan that he begged Gavin Newsom to let him stay home from school, begged him to tell him exactly what time they had to get up and Charlie was coming, and then was obviously very disappointed that he didn't get to go. And here's Gavin Newsom on CNN.
Okay, wait, before the next clip plays, that initial Gavin Newsom statement is a little bit odd. Like, your son is 13 years old and you're still talking about putting him to bed like he's a young child. I mean, maybe, perhaps. I don't know. My parents kind of stopped putting me to bed by the time I was 13. Maybe they would say, all right, it's time to sleep. They were not reading me bedtime stories. But hey, maybe Gavin Newsom is just this incredibly involved father. Maybe. But I think probably that was a little bit of flattery, made up flattery to get Charlie Kirk comfortable. And I love how Charlie responds with a jab about Gavin Newsom's lockdowns. He was so quick on his feet. It's amazing to watch these old clips. He was a great speaker and communicator. So let's go now to Gavin Newsom's news story about his son.
Monday with an entirely different description of what went down, Sot 2.
That's your son, obviously a fan of Charlie Kirk. What was the conversation like between you and your son after Charlie Kirk was assassinated?
Well, he called me. I don't know how he got a phone, but he called me from school that day, really alarmed. And all his friends were around the phone that wanted me to somehow express or understand what was going on. He wanted to know if he was dead. He wasn't a fan of him as much as he was familiar with
really?
him. And it was very revelatory for me because he's also out there. My son is 11, 12 years old. He's sitting there talking to me about not just Charlie Kirk, but folks like Andrew Tate. And he's, sort of beyond Joe Rogan, in many ways, sort of Facebook in so many respects of sort of this novelty of the pod, manosphere, et cetera. And it was so interesting to me in that context that he knew so much about Kirk. And that was a true story. I didn't know what he was saying or stand for. He didn't even have a strong position himself.
Oh, okay. So now it's...
I'm confused by that statement. What was the bit about Facebook? It's beyond Facebook? Okay, I don't know. And apparently Gavin Newsom doesn't know how old his son is. I mean, we heard 13 in the first clip, and now he's 11 or 12. I mean, that's kind of a big range. I don't know. I would hope you kind of know what age your son is. But fine, okay, I guess. This seems to be Gavin Newsom backpedaling because Charlie Kirk has been designated literally Hitler by the left, right? They're saying, well, of course we don't celebrate political assassinations, but Charlie Kirk was this hateful guy. Charlie Kirk was inciting stochastic terrorism against the trans community and Latinos or whatever. And so I think Gavin Newsom is sort of hedging his bets here and trying not to seem too pro-Kirk, because people like Ilhan Omar have decided that, Charlie Kirk's grave should just be spit on.
He wasn't a fan as much as just familiar with Charlie. And that's why he begged his father to let him meet Charlie, to get up early in the day, to skip school just so he could shake Charlie's hand, just because of his familiarity, not his fandom.
Okay, I love Megyn Kelly. She really hits the mark with her commentary. But yeah, you don't just beg your dad to skip school because you're kind of vaguely familiar with this guy as a political commentator, in the same way you're vaguely familiar with Andrew Tate or whatever he said about his son in there. But I really think that there's no length that Gavin Newsom will not go to, be a political force. I think he quite clearly wants to be president. He's probably wanted it for a very long time. And he's maneuvering in a way that he thinks will get him there. And we'll see if it does. I mean, he has the advantage of not being repulsive looking. He does not have the advantage of being clear or having a good record. But he's really willing to say or do anything, no matter how much it contradicts his past statements. I remember, I think on his podcast, he said I would, who uses the term Latinx, da-da-da-da-da, and I had people on my team tell me to stop using it, and it's ridiculous. And you could clearly find examples of him using it on his X account. But Gavin Newsom really does read to me as someone with just nothing behind the eyes. It's totally cold, it's very creepy, but I don't think he cares. I don't think he cares when someone calls him a liar or a hypocrite or whatever. I think, I really do wonder if this man has emotions in the way that most humans do. But that's speculation, I guess. Anyway, it will be very interesting to see who the Democrats put up for their presidential nominee in 2028. I think Gavin Newsom. I think maybe AOC are going to battle it out. Democrats are not exactly awash in political talent right now, so it's going to be a tough go for them. Please, Kamala Harris, please run again, because it would be so funny. And I do want to see all the other Democrats attack Kamala and totally change their tune from 2024 when they were, fervent supporters of her. But let me know what you think of Gavin Newsom's story in the comment section below. Give this video a like, hit subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.